The assembly hall stretched out like a small moon, its walls made of crystallized starlight that pulsed with soft colors. Captain Day Quan stood at the center platform, surrounded by beings from across 3 galaxies. Some floated in special atmosphere bubbles. Others stood on legs that numbered anywhere from 2 to 12. A few existed as pure energy contained in geometric fields. All of them were looking at him. Day Kyorn adjusted his uniform and glanced back at his team. Dr. Hannah Yoon gave him a slight nod, her tablet displaying the presentation they had worked on for months. Ambassador Soong Park stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his face calm as always. They were the only humans in a room filled with 247 different species, representing the Galactic Council that had ruled known space for over 10,000 years. Honored members of the Council, Daquan began, his voice amplified across the massive chamber. Earth comes before you today to request full membership in the Galactic Union. We believe we have much to offer and much to learn. A sound rippled through the chamber. It took Daquan a moment to realize what it was. Laughter. Hundreds of different species, each laughing in their own way. Clicks, whistles, deep rumbles, high-pitched chirps, all blending into a wave of mockery. High Counselor Vex rose from his seat at the top tier. He was a Taurian, his insect-like body covered in dark blue plates that gleamed under the lights. 4 compound eyes focused on the human delegation. Earth, he said, his voice translated instantly into every language in the room. You are barely aware of the galaxy beyond your tiny solar system. Your species achieved spaceflight only 400 of your years ago. We have civilizations here that have traveled the stars for 50,000 years. Dr. Hanayum stepped forward and activated the holographic display. Images of Earth filled the space above them. Cities, cultures, art, science, the diversity of human achievement. We may be young, she said, but we have accomplished much in a short time. Our scientific advancement has been rapid. Our culture is rich and varied. We have unified our world under a single peaceful government. Unified? Commander Krill's reptilian form uncoiled from his seat. His scales were deep red, and his eyes were cold yellow slits. You unified only after killing millions of your own kind in countless wars. Your planet still bears the scars of nuclear weapons. You are violent children playing with fire. More laughter echoed through the chamber. Daquan felt heat rise in his chest, but he kept his face neutral. This was not going as they had hoped. Overseer Nath spoke next. The synthetic being was all. Smooth metal and glowing circuits, shaped vaguely like a humanoid, but clearly artificial. We have analyzed human biology, Nath said. You are soft. Your bones break easily. You require specific atmospheric conditions to survive. You move slowly, compared to 89% of Council species. You are, by every measure, inferior specimens. Ambassador Soong Park finally spoke, his voice quiet but clear. Inferior is a matter of perspective, Overseer. We did not come here to claim superiority. We came to join a community of species working together for mutual benefit. Mutual benefit? High Counselor Vex leaned forward. What could humans possibly offer us? Your technology is primitive. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are basic projectile systems. You have never fought an interstellar war, never colonized beyond your own star system, never even encountered another intelligent species until we revealed ourselves to you 50 years ago. The human delegation stood silent as the council continued. Speaker after speaker rose to list humanity's shortcomings. They were too aggressive, too emotional, too short-lived to understand long-term planning, too fractured in their thinking, too dependent on a single planet. The criticism went on for nearly an hour. Finally, High Counselor Vex called for order. The Council has made its decision, he announced. Earth is not ready for full membership. However, we are not without mercy. We offer you protectorate status. A holographic document appeared before the human delegation. Daquan scanned through it quickly, his jaw tightening with each line. Dr. Hannah Yoon's face went pale. Even Ambassador Soong Park's calm expression cracked slightly. The terms were clear. Earth would remain restricted to the Sol system. No colonization of other worlds without Council permission. No independent trade with other species. No military expansion beyond defensive satellites. Earth would be required to send resources to the Council as tribute, payment for the protection and guidance they would receive. Any violation would result in immediate occupation by Council peacekeeping forces. This is not membership, Daquan said, his voice tight. This is surrender. It is survival, Commander Krill replied. The galaxy is dangerous, human. There are species out there that would consume your world for its resources. Pirates that would enslave your population. Phenomena that would erase your sun. Under our protection, Earth will be safe. You will learn at your own pace, under our guidance, until you are truly ready to join the galactic community. Perhaps in another 1,000 years. We need your answer, High Counselor Vex said. Will you accept protectorate status? Ambassador Soong Park stepped forward. He looked up at the tiers of alien representatives, at the countless beings who saw humanity as nothing more than primitives to be managed. When he spoke, his voice was steady and cold. Humanity respectfully declines, he said. We will find our own path forward. The silence that followed was brief, then the laughter started again. This time it was louder, more genuine. High Counselor Vex's mandibles clicked in amusement. Your pride will be your downfall, he said. Very well. We give you 1 standard galactic year to reconsider. That is 12 of your Earth months. During this time, you will receive no support from the Council, no trade agreements, no technology sharing, no protection. You will be alone in a galaxy that does not care whether you live or die. When desperation sets in, Commander Krill added, when you realize how small and helpless you truly are, you may petition the Council again. We will accept your request for protectorate status, but the terms will be less generous than what we offer today. The human delegation was dismissed. As they walked through the long corridors back to their ship, none of them spoke. The weight of what had just happened pressed down on them. They had traveled for months to reach this place. They had prepared their best arguments, their finest achievements, their hopes for humanity's future among the stars. And they had been laughed at? Back on their ship, a small Earth vessel that looked primitive next to the massive alien craft in the orbital docks, the 3 of them finally gathered in the command room. Daquan paced back and forth, his fists clenched. Dr. Hannah Yoon stared at her tablet, reviewing the data she had collected on Council species. Ambassador Soong Park sat down heavily in his chair. They think we will break, Daquan said finally. They think we will come crawling back, begging for their protection. Perhaps they are right to think so, Dr. Hannah Yoon said quietly. We are one species, one small planet. The Council represents thousands of worlds, millions of years of combined knowledge. How can we possibly stand alone? Ambassador Soong Park looked up at both of them. We have faced impossible odds before, he said. Humanity has always been at its best when others underestimate us. They see weakness where there is strength. They see youth where there is potential. They have made a critical mistake. What mistake? Daquan asked. Soong Park smiled, but there was no warmth in it. They think we will play by their rules. They think we will wait and hope and eventually submit. They do not understand that when you give humans only 2 choices, we will always find a third. Daquan stopped pacing. He looked out the viewport at the massive Council station, at the Empire that had just rejected everything Earth offered, An idea was forming in his mind, dangerous and audacious. "Then we show them what humans do best," he said. "We show them what happens when you corner a species that refuses to quit." The ship turned away from Axiom Prime and began its long journey back to Earth. Behind them, the Galactic Council returned to their routine business, already forgetting about the primitive humans who had dared to dream of equality. They would remember soon enough. Humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson it would never forget. The news of the Council's rejection spread across Earth within hours. Every screen, every news feed, every communication channel carried the same message. Humanity had been deemed unworthy. The reaction was immediate and unified in a way that surprised even the most optimistic observers. 6 months after the delegation returned home, Admiral Jia Li stood in the command center beneath the Himalayas, watching dozens of screens showing activity across the planet. Every nation had contributed resources to what they were calling Project Sovereignty. Factories that once competed now shared designs. Scientists who had worked in isolation now collaborated freely. The humiliation at the Council had done what centuries of diplomacy could not. It had truly unified Earth. "Admiral, we have the latest report from Dr. Tae Song," an aide said, handing her a tablet. Jia Li read quickly, then smiled. The experimental propulsion team had done it. They had finally cracked the mystery of the derelict alien scout ship found in the asteroid belt 20 years ago. The wreckage had been studied carefully, its technology analyzed piece by piece. Now they understood how it worked, and more importantly, they understood how to make it better. Dr. Tae Song arrived an hour later, his face tired but excited. "We can do it," he said, spreading holographic schematics across the table. "The alien drive system uses quantum tunneling to create temporary shortcuts through space. It is efficient, but slow by our standards. They built it to last thousands of years with minimal maintenance. And we do not care about that," Jia Li said, understanding immediately. "Exactly. We can modify the design, push it harder, make it unstable, but much faster. A human ship could cross the distance to the nearest star system in weeks instead of months. The drive would need replacing after a few years, but we can manufacture new ones. The aliens built for eternity. We will build for speed." Across the compound, engineer Bin Choi was working on a different problem. He stood in a massive testing facility, watching as a railgun fired a projectile at an alien shield generator they had acquired through back channels. The shield flickered and held. The projectile bounced off harmlessly. "Again," Bin Choi ordered. "Increase velocity by 20%. The railgun charged and fired. This time the projectile moved so fast it appeared as merely a blur. The shield activated, but the projectile passed right through it, punching a hole through the reinforced target behind it and embedding itself in the mountain wall. Beyond. Bin Choi's team erupted in cheers. "Record everything," he shouted over the noise. "I want to know exactly what happened." The answer, when the data was analyzed, was beautifully simple. Alien shields were designed to deflect energy weapons, plasma bolts, lasers, particle beams. They were perfected over thousands of years to counter every known weapon type in the galaxy. But kinetic weapons, simple metal projectiles moving at extreme speeds, were considered primitive. Most species had abandoned them millennia ago. The shields were not optimized to stop them, especially when they moved at relativistic velocities. "We have an advantage," Bin Choi reported to Admiral Jia Li. "They will see our weapons as primitive, right up until those weapons tear through their defenses." Director Myra Han was running her own operation from an unmarked building in Singapore. Her team of linguists, hackers, and intelligence analysts had been working nonstop to infiltrate Council communication networks. It had taken months, but they had finally succeeded in planting monitoring devices on several trade stations near Council space. What they discovered changed everything. The Council is not what they claim to be. Mirahan told the assembled military and political leaders in a secure video conference. They present themselves as a benevolent organization dedicated to peace and cooperation. But the data we have collected tells a different story. She displayed intercepted communications, financial records, and strategic documents. The pattern was clear. The Council actively suppressed emerging species. Any civilization that developed faster than expected was offered protectorate status. Those who refused were isolated, their trade routes blocked, their colonies harassed by pirates that were actually Council proxies. Eventually, desperation forced them to accept Council terms. They are afraid of competition, Mirahan continued. The older species control all the resources, all the technology, all the power. They maintain this control by keeping younger species dependent and weak. Earth is just the latest target. If we submit, we will never be allowed to become a true power. Ambassador Soong Park listened to the reports with growing satisfaction. Everything was coming together faster than he had dared hope. What about allies? He asked. Are there other species who resent Council control? Many, Mirahan confirmed. The Kurin are bird-like beings with advanced mathematical abilities, but the Council restricts their access to navigation technology. The Malthus are amphibious traders who are forced to pay excessive tariffs. There are dozens of minor species who would welcome an alternative to Council dominance. But they are too afraid to act alone. Then we give them a reason not to be afraid, Soong Park said. Meanwhile, Commodore Day Kwan, recently promoted for his work coordinating the response to the Council rejection, was overseeing humanity's most ambitious project yet. In hidden shipyards throughout the solar system, construction had begun on a true fleet of warships. The ships were unlike anything Earth had built before. They incorporated stolen alien technology, human innovation, and lessons from every war humanity had ever fought. They were smaller than Council battleships, but faster and more maneuverable. They had experimental jump drives that could make short-range teleports, something Council ships considered too energy-intensive to be practical. They were covered in materials that absorbed sensor scans rather than reflecting them, making them nearly invisible. Day Kwan walked through the construction bay of the largest ship, the ECS Indomitable. Workers from every nation labored side by side, welding, wiring, installing weapon systems that could fire projectiles at speeds that bent physics. The ship was a statement. Humanity would not hide. They would not submit. They would fight if necessary. Dr. Hana Yoon had taken on a different role. She was no longer just studying alien biology. She was analyzing it for weaknesses. Every species in the Council had evolved differently, adapted to different environments. That meant they all had vulnerabilities. The Taurians, like High Counselor Vex, had excellent vision, but were sensitive to certain sound frequencies. The Felucians, like Commander Krill, were strong and fast, but their cold-blooded metabolism made them sluggish in low temperatures. The synthetic autome relied on networked processing, which made them vulnerable to cyber attacks. We are not trying to be better than them at everything, Hana Yoon explained to her research team. We just need to be better at the things that matter in conflict. They have had peace for so long they have forgotten how to really fight. We never have. And that was the truth that the Council had missed. Humanity was young, yes, but that youth had been spent in constant struggle. Humans had fought each other for resources, territory, ideology, and survival. They had developed weapons, tactics, and strategies refined through thousands of years of brutal warfare. The Council species had technology, but they followed rigid doctrines unchanged for centuries. They fought by rules established in ancient treaties. Humans knew that in real war, there were no rules. 10 months after the rejection, Admiral Jia Li gathered the key leaders for a final briefing. Commodore Day Kwan reported that the fleet was nearly ready. 60 ships of various sizes, all equipped with experimental technology. Engineer Bin Choi confirmed that weapons production was exceeding targets. Dr. Tay Song showed projections for the new jump drives. They would give human ships mobility that Council vessels could not match. Director Myra Han presented intelligence on Council fleet movements and vulnerabilities. Dr. Hannah Yoon provided biological and psychological profiles of every major Council species. We have 2 months until the Council's deadline, Soong Park said. They expect us to come begging for their protection. Instead, we will send them a message. He activated a communication array that Myra Han's team had set up. It was designed to broadcast on frequencies used by independent traders and minor species throughout Council space. The message was simple and direct. This is Ambassador Soong Park of Earth. Our planet was offered protectorate status by the Galactic Council. We refused. We believe that every species has the right to determine its own destiny, to trade freely, to explore and expand without artificial restrictions. Earth is now open to establishing direct trade agreements with any species who wish to deal with us as equals, not as masters and servants. We offer fair exchange, mutual defense pacts, and shared technology. The Council does not own the galaxy. It is time the galaxy remembered that. The message spread quickly. Within days, Myra Han's team detected increased communication traffic among minor species. Some were excited, others afraid. All were talking about the humans who had openly defied the Council. The Council's response was swift and predictable. High Counselor Vex sent a formal declaration. Earth was now considered a rogue civilization. Any species that traded with humans would face economic sanctions. Any species that allied with humans would be expelled from the Council. But buried in the intelligence reports that Myra Han intercepted was something more concerning. Commander Krill had been authorized to assemble a military task force. Their target was not Earth, not yet. They were going to make an example of someone else first. The Curran homeworld was being placed under blockade. They are punishing the Curran for even considering our offer, Myra Han reported. They want to show the galaxy what happens when you cooperate with humanity. Admiral Jia Li looked at the star charts showing the Curran system. It was far from Earth, deep in Council space. Sending a fleet there would be dangerous, perhaps suicidal. The Council expected humans to abandon their potential allies when faced with real military consequences. Recommendations? Jia Li asked. Commodore Daquan stepped forward. We go. We break the blockade. We show every species in the galaxy that when Earth makes a promise, we keep it, no matter the cost. Soong Park nodded slowly. The Council wants to teach the galaxy a lesson about defying them. Very well. We will teach them a lesson too. We will teach them that humanity does not abandon our friend. The orders went out. The fleet began to move. Earth's first real test was coming, and the entire galaxy would be watching. The Curran homeworld was a beautiful planet of endless forests and crystalline oceans. From orbit, it looked peaceful. But 12 Felucian heavy cruisers surrounded it in a perfect blockade formation. Their weapons pointed down at the planet below. Nothing came in. Nothing went out. The Curran people, gentle and scholarly by nature, were slowly starving. Ambassador Unikeo stood in the Curran capital city, watching the sky with growing desperation. She had been sent to establish relations with the Curran 3 months ago, back when Earth was still hopeful about peaceful trade. Now she was trapped on a dying world, watching bird-like beings grow weaker each day as their food supplies ran out. How long until help arrives? Asked Keeper Vin, the Curran leader. Her feathers, once bright blue, had faded to a dull gray. Her people were suffering, and she blamed herself for even considering an alliance with the humans. Soon, Unikeo promised, though she had no way to know for certain. Her last message to Earth had been sent 2 weeks ago. The Felucian blockade jammed most communications, but she had managed to get one transmission through using a smuggler's encrypted channel. Since then, silenced out in space above the planet, Commander Krill sat in his command ship, satisfied with the operation. The blockade was working perfectly. No ships had attempted to break through. The Kurin were learning their lesson. Soon they would denounce their contact with Earth and beg the Council for forgiveness. He would accept, of course, after an appropriate period of suffering. That was how order was maintained. "Commander," his sensor officer called out, "we are detecting multiple jump signatures at the edge of the system." Krill's eyes narrowed. "Identification? Unknown configuration. Small vessels. Count is 20 ships, sir." Krill laughed, a deep rumbling sound. "The humans have come. How noble. How stupid." He activated the fleet-wide channel. "All ships, prepare for combat. We will destroy these primitives quickly and send their wreckage back to Earth as a message." The human fleet dropped out of jump space near the system's asteroid belt. Captain Sora Nam stood on the bridge of the ECS Defiance, one of Earth's new stealth corvettes. Around her, 19 other ships took up positions among the floating rocks and ice. "Status report," she ordered. Lieutenant Commander Wu Jin studied his tactical display. 12 Felucian cruisers in standard blockade formation around the planet. Each one mounts plasma cannons, missile batteries, and energy shields. Combined firepower analysis suggests they could destroy our entire fleet in a direct engagement. "Good thing we are not planning a direct engagement," Sora Nam said with a slight smile. "Wu Jin, you have studied the intelligence reports. Where are they weakest?" Wu Jin highlighted several points on the holographic display. "The Felucian doctrine calls for ships to maintain fixed positions in a blockade. They rotate to keep weapons facing potential threats, but they do not move from their assigned coordinates. Their shields are optimized for frontal assault. They expect enemies to approach directly and exchange fire in traditional ship-to-ship combat. They expect a fair fight," Sora Nam said. "We are not going to give them one. Send the word to all ships. Operation Ghost Storm begins now." The human corvettes moved like predators through the asteroid field. Their hulls, designed to absorb sensor scans, made them nearly invisible against the background of rocks and ice. The Felucian sensors picked up occasional blips, but dismissed them as asteroids. After all, no one would be foolish enough to hide in an asteroid field. The risk of collision was too high, but human pilots, trained in three-dimensional combat and used to taking risks that alien species considered insane, navigated the field easily. The first strike came without warning. 3 human ships emerged from behind a large asteroid, fired their railguns in perfect synchronization, and disappeared back into the field before the Felucians could respond. The projectiles, each one a solid slug of dense metal moving at near-light speed, punched through the shields of a Felucian cruiser like they were not even there. The cruiser's engine section exploded, sending the ship spinning out of formation. "Contact!" the Felucian sensor officer shouted. 3 ships, bearing. "They are gone, sir." Commander Krill slammed his fist on his command chair. "Find them, all ships, activate full sensor sweeps." But the human ships were already repositioning. Wu Jin coordinated the assault from his tactical station, treating the battle like a 3-dimensional chess game. He had studied every human naval battle from ancient times to the present, from submarine warfare to space combat simulations. The principle was the same. Use mobility and stealth to attack from unexpected angles, strike hard, and disappear before the enemy can respond. "Group 2. You are clear to engage," he transmitted. 5 more human ships emerged from different positions in the asteroid field. This time they targeted a Felucian cruiser that had broken formation to search for the attackers. Railgun rounds tore through its sensor arrays and weapon notes, leaving it blind and helpless. The human ships vanished again before the other Felucian vessels could bring their weapons to bear. "This is not combat," Commander Krill roared. "This is cowardice. They hide like prey animals." But the humans did not care about Felucian concepts of honor. They cared about winning. And they were very good at it. Captain Soranam watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction. The Felucian formation was breaking apart as ships moved to hunt for the human attackers. That was exactly what she wanted. Divided, they were vulnerable. "All ships, prepare for microjumps," she ordered. The experimental jump drives that Dr. Tae Song's team had developed were unstable and energy-intensive. But they had one critical advantage. They could move a ship instantly across short distances, something Council technology considered wasteful. Why jump a few thousand kilometers when you could simply fly there? Because it let you appear right behind an enemy ship. The human fleet executed the microjump simultaneously. 20 ships materialized in the middle of the Felucian formation, moving too fast for the cruisers to track. They fired at point-blank range into the rear sections of the Felucian ships, where shields were weakest. Engine cores ruptured. Life support systems failed. 3 Felucian cruisers went dark in seconds. Then the human ships jumped again, reappearing back in the asteroid field before the Felucians could return fire. "Commander," Krill stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His battle group had been reduced to chaos. 8 cruisers were damaged or destroyed. The remaining 4 were scattered, their neat formation broken. And he still had not managed to destroy a single human ship. "Sir, we should retreat and request reinforcements," his first officer suggested. "No," Krill hissed. "We outnumber them. We have superior firepower. We just need to pin them down and destroy them properly." But that was the problem. The humans refused to be pinned down. They used the asteroid field for cover, micro-jumped to avoid return fire, and coordinated their attacks with precision that suggested extensive combat experience. Every engagement lasted only seconds before they vanished again. "Lieutenant," Commander Wu Jin monitored the enemy communications that Director Mira Han's cyber warfare team was intercepting. The Felucians were confused, angry, and frightened. Their rigid military doctrine had no answer for an enemy that refused to fight by the established rules. "Captain, we have an opportunity," Wu Jin reported. "The Felucian command ship has exposed its bridge section while turning to track our last position. If we can hit it with a concentrated strike, we can take out their commander." Soranam did not hesitate. "All ships, focus fire on the flagship. 1 salvo, maximum power, then jump out immediately." 20 human ships emerged from the asteroid field in a coordinated strike. Their railguns fired as one, dozens of projectiles converging on a single target. The Felucian flagship's shields collapsed under the assault. Projectiles tore through armor plating, through interior bulkheads, through the bridge where Commander Krill sat out the last thing Krill saw was his view screen shattering as a metal slug punched through it at relativistic speed. The flagship began to tumble, atmosphere venting from dozens of breaches. The remaining Felucian ships, now leaderless and terrified, broke formation completely. 3 attempted to flee the system. 1 sent a distress signal to the Council. The others drifted, their crews trying desperately to repair damaged systems. Captain Soranam opened a channel on all frequencies. Her message was broadcast to the Felucian survivors, to the Curran planet below, and to every listening post within range. "This is Captain Soranam of the Earth Confederation ship Defiance. The blockade of the Curran homeworld is broken. Any species wishing to trade with the Curran or with Earth may do so freely. We guarantee safe passage through this system. Any attempt to re-establish this illegal blockade will be met with immediate military response. On the planet below, Ambassador Unikayo heard the message and felt tears of relief. Around her, the Curran people were emerging from their shelters, looking up at the sky where human ships now held position. Within hours, the first supply ships would arrive, bringing food and medicine. Peeper Vin approached Unikayo, her feathers already showing hints of their natural blue color returning. "Your people came for." "U.S.," she said softly. "Even though it was dangerous. Even though you had nothing to gain." "We had everything to gain," Unikayo replied. "We gained allies. We gained friends. And we showed the galaxy that Earth keeps its promises." The footage of the battle spread across Council space faster than anyone expected. Director Mira Han's team made sure of that, distributing edited recordings through back channels and public networks. Species across hundreds of worlds watched as 20 small human ships defeated a Felucian battle group, 12 times their size, using tactics and weapons the Council had never seen before. In the Council chambers on Axiom Prime, High Counselor Vex watched the recordings in stunned silence. The other counselors argued around him, their voices rising in panic and anger. "This is unacceptable," one shouted. "A minor species has defeated Council forces. They must be punished." Another demanded, "We cannot allow this precedent." But Vex was thinking deeper. The humans had not just won a battle. They had revealed something terrifying. They were not primitive. They were dangerous. They thought differently, fought differently, and clearly had no respect for the established order. "Prepare the armada," Vex said quietly. The chamber fell silent. "We will assemble a fleet of 200 ships," Vex continued. "We will travel to Earth and end this threat before it grows beyond our control." "The humans want to play at war?" "We will show them what real war looks like." The order went out across Council space. The greatest military force assembled in 3,000 years began to gather. Earth had won one battle, but the Council was preparing to win the war, and they would not make the mistake of underestimating humanity again. Earth transformed into a fortress in the months following the Curran battle. General Huan Ru oversaw the construction of orbital defense platforms that ringed the planet like a metal crown. Each platform carried railguns, missile batteries, and Dr. Rena Bay's latest innovation, quantum entangled mines that could teleport directly into the path of incoming ships. "Will it be enough?" Huan Ru asked during a planning session. Admiral Jia Li studied the defensive projections on her screen. "Against a normal attack, yes. Against 200 Council ships?" She shook her head. "We would inflict heavy losses, but eventually they would overwhelm us through sheer numbers." "Then we cannot let them reach Earth," Commodore Day Quan said. He stood at the edge of the table, looking at star charts, showing the route from Council space to Sol system. "We need to hit them before they launch their attack." The room fell silent. What Day Kyan was suggesting went beyond audacious. It was strategic insanity. The Council armada was gathering at the Nexus shipyards, deep in Council territory, defended by multiple species' home fleets. Attacking there would mean jumping into the heart of enemy space with no support and no line of retreat. "It cannot be done," General Huan Ru said flatly. "The intelligence reports show at least 300 ships at Nexus yards. Even if we sent our entire fleet, we would be outnumbered 5-1. 6-1. Actually, Director Marahan corrected, pulling up the latest surveillance data. But most of those ships are support vessels, transports, and older models. The actual combat-ready armada numbers about 200, same as our estimates." Dr. Hana Yoon, who had been quietly reviewing biological data, looked up. "There is something else to consider." The Council species have not fought a real war in over 1,000 years. Their military training is based on simulations and ancient doctrines. They expect warfare to follow certain rules, certain patterns, and we have no intention of following any of those rules. Day Quan finished. Ambassador Soong Park entered the room, late from a secure communication with the Free Species Coalition. 53 minor species had now openly aligned with Earth after witnessing the current rescue. They could not provide military support. Their fleets were too small, but they offered intelligence, resources, and most importantly, legitimacy. Earth was no longer a lone rogue. It was the leader of a movement. The Council is afraid, Soong Park reported, not just of our military capabilities, but of what we represent. Every species they have suppressed for centuries is watching us. If we survive their attack, the Council's authority collapses. They need to destroy us completely and publicly. Then we give them a different show, Admiral Jia Li said, making her decision. We approve Operation Shatterpoint. Commodore Day Quan will lead a strike force to Nexus Yards. We hit them before they hit us. 3 weeks later, 60 human ships gathered in deep space beyond Pluto's orbit. Commodore Day Quan stood on the bridge of the ECS Indomitable, the first true human dreadnought. The ship was a masterpiece of combined human and adapted alien engineering. Its armor could withstand tremendous punishment. Its weapons could tear through shields designed to stop energy attacks. And its power core, designed by Dr. Tae Song, produced 3 times the output of equivalent alien reactors by running at dangerous instability levels. We know the mission. Day Quan addressed his fleet over the combined channel. We jump into Nexus Yards, we destroy or capture as many ships as possible, and we force the Council to negotiate. This is not a suicide mission, but it will be dangerous. Every ship in this fleet volunteered. Every crew member knows what we are fighting for. We are fighting for Earth's freedom. We are fighting for every species that has been suppressed by the Council. We are fighting to prove that the galaxy does not belong to the old powers. It belongs to everyone. The fleet jumped as one, using coordinates that Director Myra Han's intelligence network had stolen from Council navigation databases. They emerged in Council space, along a route that was rarely patrolled, traveling through systems considered too unimportant to monitor closely. It took 2 weeks to reach Nexus Yards, 2 weeks of silent running with all systems minimized to avoid detection. When they finally arrived at the edge of the Nexus system, the sight was overwhelming. The shipyards themselves were massive orbital constructs, each one large enough to build a dozen ships simultaneously. Hundreds of vessels filled the space around them, from small patrol craft to massive dreadnoughts. The Council Armada floated in organized formations, preparing for their journey to Earth. Tactical analysis. Day Quan ordered. Lieutenant Commander Wu Jin, who had transferred to the Indomitable after the current battle, worked quickly. Enemy forces number approximately 300 ships, as expected. Majority are in dock or anchored for resupply. Their defensive formation is designed to repel attacks from outside the system, not from inside it. They are not expecting us. Of course they are not, Dr. Hannah Yoon said from her science station. She had insisted on coming on this mission to provide real-time analysis of enemy species. Council doctrine says you do not attack enemy staging areas. It is considered dishonorable to strike before a formal declaration of war. They think we will wait for them to come to us. We are done playing by the rules, Day Quan said. All ships begin attack run. Target priority: command vessels, carriers, and heavy cruisers. Avoid civilian structures. This is a military operation, not a massacre. The human fleet broke into 3 groups and attacked from different vectors. The Council forces were caught completely by surprise. Ships that had powered down weapons to conserve energy while in dock scrambled to come online. Formations designed to look impressive 4. Propaganda broadcasts broke apart in chaos as captains tried to reposition for actual combat. The Indomitable led the charge directly through the center of the Council formation. Its railguns fired in continuous streams, the projectiles moving so fast they created visible distortions in space. Council shields flickered and failed. Ships that had been anchored for maintenance found themselves torn apart by weapons. They had no defense against. Captain Young Co. led the first wave of boarding actions. His Marines launched from modified assault ships in breaching pods, small armored capsules that could latch onto enemy hulls and cut through. The tactic was so primitive, so ancient, that no Council ship had defenses against physical boarding. Go, go, go! Young Co. shouted as his pod cut through the hull of a Council command carrier. His Marines poured through the breach, wearing powered armor and carrying kinetic weapons that worked in any environment. The alien crew, used to fighting ship to ship with energy weapons, had no idea how to respond to armored humans, with shotguns and rifles clearing corridors room by room. Within 30 minutes. Young Co.'s forces had captured 3 Council admirals and secured the carrier's bridge. The ship's crew surrendered rather than risk decompression in a corridor-by-corridor fight. Meanwhile, Director Mirahan's cyber warfare team executed the operation they had spent months preparing. Hidden viruses activated in Council ship systems, viruses that had been planted through compromised communication relays and corrupted software updates. Council ships began receiving false sensor data, showing friendly vessels as enemies. Targeting systems locked up. Communication channels filled with contradictory orders. Enemy fleet cohesion is breaking down, Wu Jin reported. They are experiencing massive system failures across their network. The Indomitable pressed deeper into the formation. Its experimental weapons, designed by Dr. Rena Bay, fired quantum disruption projectiles that created temporary micro-wormholes. Council shields, designed to block energy and deflect matter, simply collapse. When space-time itself warped around them. Ships came apart at the seams, their hulls unable to handle the gravitational stress. But the humans were taking losses too. The ECS Defiant, Captain Soranam's ship, took a direct hit from a Council plasma battery while covering a group of smaller vessels. The bridge section was breached. Emergency systems kicked in, but Soranam knew her ship was dying. All hands abandon ship, she ordered calmly. Helm, set collision course with that carrier. Let us make this count. The crew evacuated in escape pods, while Soranam and her helmsman guided the dying ship toward a Council carrier. They accelerated to maximum speed, the Defiant's damaged engines screaming, and rammed the carrier at relativistic velocity. The explosion consumed both ships and damaged 3 others nearby. The battle raged for 18 hours. Human ships darted through the Council formation, using microjumps and unpredictable maneuvers. Marine boarding parties captured ship after ship. Cyber attacks spread confusion through the enemy fleet. And always the railguns fired, their projectiles punching through shields and armor with unstoppable force. Finally, as the second day of combat began, the Council forces broke. Over 100 ships had been destroyed or captured. The carefully organized armada was reduced to scattered groups of damaged vessels, trying desperately to escape. The Nexus yards themselves were secured by human Marines and allied Kuran technical teams. Commodore Daequan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, surrounded by damage reports and casualty lists. 12 human ships had been destroyed, including the Defiant. Hundreds of crew members had died. But they had achieved the impossible. They had struck the heart of Council power and won. Open a channel to Axiom Prime, Daequan ordered. Maximum broadcast strength. I want every Council member to hear this. When the channel opened, Daequan spoke clearly and without emotion. This is Commodore Day, Quan of the Earth Confederation Fleet. We currently hold the Nexus shipyards and have defeated the Council, armada assembled to attack our homeworld. We do not seek the destruction of the Council or its member species. We seek only recognition and respect. The Nexus yards will remain under our control until the Council agrees to negotiate a treaty recognizing Earth and our allies as sovereign equals. Any attempt to retake these yards by force will result in their complete destruction. We await your response. In the Council chambers on Axiom Prime, High Counselor Vex watched the transmission with something approaching despair. Around him, counselors shouted and argued, but their words meant nothing. The military option had failed. The humans had done the unthinkable, attacking and defeating Council forces in the heart of their own territory, using tactics and weapons that should not have worked, but did. For 3,000 years, the Council had maintained order through superior technology and overwhelming force. Now a species that had been spacefaring for only 400 years had shattered that illusion. If the Council could not defeat Earth, what did that mean for their authority over hundreds of other species? We must negotiate, Counselor Nath said quietly. The synthetic being had been running probability calculations throughout the battle. The humans have proven they cannot be suppressed by conventional means. Continued conflict will only weaken us further while emboldening other species to rebel. Negotiate with primitives? Another counselor scoffed. Never. But Vex knew Nath was right. The galaxy was watching. Every suppressed species, every minor power that had been forced into protectorate status, was seeing that the Council could be beaten. If they refused to negotiate now, if they tried to continue the war, the Council itself might collapse from internal rebellion. Send a message to the humans, Vex said, his voice heavy with defeat. Tell them we are willing to discuss terms. The assembly hall on Axiom Prime looked the same as it had 1 year ago, with its walls of crystallized starlight and tiers of seats for hundreds of species. But everything else had changed. The chamber was less crowded now. 53 species had withdrawn from Council authority after witnessing Earth's victories, forming the Free Species Coalition. Empty seats marked where their representatives once sat, a visible reminder of the Council's diminished power. Fleet Admiral Day Quan walked to the central platform again. But this time he did not walk alone. Dr. Hanayun accompanied him, now Earth Science Minister. Ambassador Sung Park led the delegation with the same calm demeanor, but now everyone in the chamber knew what that calmness concealed. Admiral Jia Li appeared via hologram, her image projected from the Nexus yards that were still under human control. 3 months after the battle, the Council members watched them with expressions ranging from barely concealed anger to grudging respect. High Counselor Vex sat in his seat at the top tier, his insectoid form seeming smaller somehow, diminished by defeat. Commander Krill was not present. He had died in the Curran blockade, and the Felucian Dominion had not appointed a replacement, too embarrassed by their military failure. Overseer Nath sat motionless, the synthetic being's circuits glowing softly as it processed the implications of everything that had happened. The Council recognizes the delegation from Earth, Vex said formally. You requested this assembly to present terms for a treaty. We are prepared to listen. Ambassador Sung Park stepped forward. He did not show any triumph or satisfaction, only the same steady professionalism he had displayed when the Council had laughed at humanity a year ago. Thank you, High Counselor. Earth and the Free Species Coalition have prepared the Treaty of Axiom. It contains 5 primary articles. A holographic document appeared in the center of the chamber, visible to all. Sung Park began to read, his voice clear and measured. Article 1. The Galactic Council recognizes Earth and all member species of the Free Species Coalition as fully sovereign civilizations with all rights and privileges thereof. No species shall be subject to protectorate status, technological restrictions, or forced tribute without their explicit consent. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some counselors shifted uncomfortably. This was a direct reversal of 3,000 years of council policy. Article 2. The practice of technological suppression is hereby abolished. All species shall have unrestricted access to scientific knowledge and the freedom to develop technology according to their own needs and capabilities. The Council may offer guidance, but may not enforce limitations. More murmurs, louder now. Councillor Vex's mandibles clicked in agitation. This will lead to chaos, he protested. Young species with advanced weapons will destroy themselves or threaten others. Dr. Hannah Yoon spoke for the first time. With respect, High Counselor, that is the same argument that has been used to justify suppression for millennia. Species must be allowed to make their own choices, even if those choices involve risk. Growth requires the freedom to succeed or fail. Article 3, Sung Park continued. All trade routes and jump points shall be open to all species on equal terms. Preferential treatment, excessive tariffs, and artificial trade restrictions are prohibited. The Council may establish reasonable safety regulations, but may not use trade control as a tool of political dominance. Ambassador Yuna Keo, who had been granted a seat as the coalition's representative, stood to add context. The Kurin nearly starved because the Council controlled their trade. The Malthus were bankrupted by unfair tariffs. These practices end now. Article 4. A joint peacekeeping force shall be established, drawing personnel and vessels from both Council species and coalition members. This force will patrol contested space, protect trade routes, and respond to threats without favoritism toward any political faction. Earth has already committed 20 vessels to this force and will work with any Council species willing to participate as equals. General Huan Ru's image appeared alongside Jia Li's hologram. The purpose of this force is genuine peacekeeping, not the suppression of emerging species. Its rules of engagement will be transparent and subject to review by all contributing members. Article 5, Sung Park said. His voice growing firmer, the Council shall release all classified records regarding suppressed species, denied technology applications, and historical decisions made without the input of affected civilizations. Transparency is essential for trust, and trust is essential for a functioning galactic community. The chamber erupted. Counselors from the old powers shouted objections. This would expose thousands of years of manipulations, secret agreements, and decisions made purely to maintain the status quo. It would reveal how the Council had systematically prevented competition and change. This is unacceptable. One counselor roared. You demand we dismantle everything the Council has built. We demand you transform it into what it should have been from the beginning, Sung Park replied calmly. An organization that serves all species, not just the powerful few. You can accept these terms, or you can reject them, and watch your authority continue to erode as more species join the coalition. Vex raised one clawed appendage for silence. When the chamber quieted, he spoke with the weight of his ancient species behind his words. And if we refuse? What then, Ambassador? Will you attack Axiom Prime? Will you wage war across the galaxy until we submit? Director Myra Han's voice pinged through the communication system, calm and analytical. High Counselor, we have been monitoring communications throughout Council space for months. 16 additional species are preparing to leave the Council if these negotiations fail. 23 others are demanding internal reforms. Your own member species are losing faith in the system. We do not need to wage war. The Council is already collapsing from within. Furthermore, Admiral Jia Li added, our forces currently control the Nexus Yards, the primary shipbuilding facility for Council military vessels. We also have intelligence indicating locations of 17 other critical Council installations. We would prefer not to use this leverage, but we will if necessary. Engineer Bin Choi appeared on another hologram, standing in what appeared to be a research facility. We have also been sharing our technology freely with Coalition members. Within 2 years, 53 species will have access to jump drives, advanced weapons, and defensive systems that rival anything the Council possesses. The technological monopoly you relied on to maintain power is already broken. Councillor Nath spoke for the first time in the session. The probability of Council survival without accepting these terms is less than 12% over the next decade. The probability of galactic instability and conflict during Council collapse is over 90%. Logic suggests we should negotiate. Vex looked around the chamber at his fellow councillors. He saw fear, anger, and resignation in equal measure. The old order was dying, and everyone knew it. The only question was whether it would die gracefully or violently. We will vote on the treaty, Vex announced. All Council members, register your position. The vote took hours. The old powers, the Taurians, the Felucians, the Automai, and others who had dominated the Council for millennia all voted to reject. But they were outnumbered. Smaller Council species, those who had been second-tier members for thousands of years, voted to accept. They had watched Earth defeat forces that should have crushed them. They had seen the Coalition offer true partnership instead of dominance. They wanted change. When the final tally appeared, the treaty passed with a vote of 187 to 60. Ambassador Sung Park nodded respectfully. Thank you. The Coalition looks forward to working with the Council to implement these changes. We are not your enemies. We are your partners in building a better galaxy. The formal session ended, but the real work was just beginning. Over the following weeks, joint committees formed to handle the transition. Dr. Tae Song's Research Institute opened branches on 12 Council worlds, offering education to any species that wanted to learn. Captain Young Seo's Marines began training the first cohorts of the integrated peacekeeping force, teaching combat doctrine to beings from 20 different species. Director Myra Han's teams worked with Council intelligence services to share information about pirate groups and genuine threats that had been ignored during the political crisis. The Nexus Yards were returned to joint operation, with human engineers working alongside Taurian shipwrights and Felucian metallurgists. The first jointly designed vessel, a fast patrol ship incorporating the best elements of human and alien engineering, launched to great celebration 6 months after the treaty signing. Earth itself became a hub of galactic activity. The orbital platforms that had been built for defense were converted into trade stations and diplomatic facilities. Hundreds of alien species sent delegations to tour the planet that had changed everything. They wanted to understand what made humans so different, so dangerous, so successful. Dr. Hana Yoon led many of these tours personally. She showed them Earth's history, the wars and conflicts that had shaped human thinking. She explained how constant struggle had forced humans to innovate, to question assumptions, to find new solutions when old ones failed. We are not special, she told a group of young current students visiting Earth's Academy of Integrated Sciences. We are simply the result of our experiences. Every species has unique strengths. Humans happen to be good at adaptation and creative problem-solving because our history required it. Your species has different strengths. The galaxy is richer when we all contribute. 5 years after the Council meeting where humanity was laughed at, Fleet Admiral Dai Quan stood in those same orbital docks where the human delegation had departed in shame. But now, hundreds of ships from dozens of species filled the space. Human vessels worked alongside current science ships, Malthus traders, and even a few Taurian exploration craft. The galaxy had not unified completely. Old prejudices and conflicts still existed. But it was changing. A visitor requested permission to come aboard Day Quan's flagship. It was former High Counselor Vex, traveling as a private citizen after stepping down from his position. He had spent the past year touring Coalition worlds, trying to understand what the Council had missed for so long. They met in the observation deck, looking out at the busy orbital space. Vex's insectoid form moved slowly, age and stress taking their toll even on his long-lived species. "I came to apologize," Vex said quietly. "We were arrogant. We saw you as primitives because you were young. We dismissed your potential because it threatened our power. We were wrong." Day Quan considered this. "You were following the same pattern that has repeated throughout history. Those who have power want to keep it. Those who benefit from the current system resist change. It is not unique to your species or the Council. Humans did the same thing to each other for thousands of years. How did you overcome it?" Vex asked. "We did not completely. But we learned that holding on to power by suppressing others eventually fails. The suppressed grow stronger, smarter, more determined. When you gave us two choices, submit or struggle alone, we chose a third option. We chose to build something new, something better. We invited others to join us not as subjects, but as partners." Vex watched a human frigate dock alongside a Curran research vessel. The crews, human and Curran, moved between ships freely, working on some joint project. "The galaxy laughed at you," he said. "Now the galaxy learns from you. That is quite a reversal." "We did not do it for revenge or glory," Day Quan replied. "We did it because we refused to accept limitations. That is the human way, I suppose. When someone tells us something is impossible, we try it anyway. When someone says we must submit, we find another path. When the rules are unjust, we shatter them and write new ones." "And now you have written new rules for the entire galaxy," Vex observed. "No," Day Quan corrected gently. "We have removed the old rules that prevented species from reaching their potential. What each species does with that freedom is up to them. Some will thrive, others will struggle. That is the nature of true freedom. It is messy and uncertain, but it is real." Vex was silent for a long moment, processing this. Finally, he said, "I watched your species for 50 years before the Council meeting. We saw your conflicts, your mistakes, your violence. We thought those were weaknesses. We did not understand they were lessons that taught you strength. Every species has lessons to teach and lessons to learn," Day Quan said. "The Taurians have patience and long-term thinking that humans lack. The Curran have mathematical precision we can barely comprehend. The Malthus understand trade and negotiation in ways we are still learning. Even your synthetic autome have perspectives on existence that challenge our philosophy. The galaxy works best when we share those strengths instead of hoarding them." As Vex prepared to leave, he paused at the airlock. "What will humans do now?" he asked. "You have reshaped the galaxy in 5 years. What is next for Earth?" Day Quan smiled. "We will explore. We will learn. We will make mistakes and correct them. We will build and create and discover. We will do what humans have always done, push forward and see what lies beyond the next horizon. And now we will do it alongside friends and partners from across the stars." Vex departed, and Day Quan returned to watching the orbital traffic. Earth's story was far from over. New challenges would come. Conflicts would arise. Problems would need solving. But humanity had proven something important, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. They had proven that youth was not weakness. That being different was not inferior. That refusing to accept unjust rules was not rebellion but evolution. They had taken the laughter of the mighty and turned it into opportunity. They had taken mockery and transformed it into motivation. The Galactic Council had laughed at humanity. In response, humans had shattered every rule and rebuilt the galaxy into something better. Not through conquest or domination, but through innovation, determination, and the simple refusal to accept that things had to stay the way they had always been. And across hundreds of worlds, in dozens of species, the young and ambitious looked to Earth and thought the same thing. If the humans could do it, perhaps we can too. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what it needed.